All right, hello everyone. We got the EMEA Majors coming up this weekend. We are quite excited, of course, for Friday and Saturday. Gonna be probably the most anticipated major in a while. We have some very good players playing, and I honestly don't think it's as clear cut as people are making it out to be. So, of course, I'll be going through the schedule. I'll be going through my breakdown and insight into each of the players, and I'll be going into my predictions for the EMEA Major in John shopping this year. So, should be a lot of fun. Let's do it. All right, so Friday, we're going to have our round one games. We obviously have Kuratsu versus Clement, Strefan versus Mata, Harrier versus Lenley, and Captain versus Panos, and those are going to be our 5 through 12 seeds, respectively. Our first top four seeds got a bye here, which is Blinky, Consis, Debray, and Finbar. And the rest of the event, the quarterfinals, semifinals, bronze medal game, and the EMEA final will all be played on June 14th on Saturday. And that should be a doozy as well. So quite excited for it. As you can see the bracket here, winner of Kuratsu and Clement plays Blinky. So we could see a French versus French matchup here. Strafon versus Mata, the winner plays Finbar. Captain versus Panos, winner plays Debray. And Harrier versus Lenley, winner plays Consis. So it should be interesting. It should be really fun. And I will be doing my bracket prediction in a little bit. But first, let's go into our player breakdown here. So as you can see, EMEA standings, Blinky number 1. Was the top overall player in terms of World League points, obviously overtaken now by Radu C's win at Americas. Radu C sitting at 130 points, but Blinky can still take the number 1 overall seed from him heading into the World Championship. We have Consis, Debray, Finbar rounding out our top 4, and then Strefan, Captain, Harrier, Kuratsu, Clement, Lenley, Panos, and Mata here. Blinky with a very good plus minus in terms of games, plus 60 here, quite dominant, I'd say, overall. And Consis, Debray, Finbar not too far behind. Both of them, all 4 of the top 4 seeds, I mean, with pretty solid winning records. And Blinky has won 35 out of his 39 games, so pretty impressive there from the Blinkster, but we expect nothing less from the World Championship of 2024. The World Champion of 2024. Let me not mince my words. All right, let's hop into Blinky's breakdown here. Everybody knows Blinky. This should say first, I guess, in terms of World League standings, but just a little bit of a breakdown of his stats. Moving, his best win rate mode. I feel like is just consistently solid in terms of moving. Probably the best moving player overall in the World League. We did see Moo play quite well against him yesterday in the Bloom Invitational, but I do think Blinky, just a solid overall moving player, been doing it for years, just solid. And I think his no move in NMPZ, he used to be more so known as a very, very solid moving player, but his no move in NMPZ game has come along quite a ways, and yeah, he's a very solid player overall. NMPZ, no surprise, I would say, is probably his weakest mode, but like, we can't really say Blinky has a weak mode, I'd say, because 67% win rate in NMPZ is still very, very solid. And most of the time, I feel like, especially in a best of 5 format, Blinky won't even let it get to the NMPZ. Obviously, we saw it get to NMPZ against MK in the 2024 World Championship final, but I think in most cases, Blinky is just like too dominant on both moving and no move for it to make too much of a difference. We do see his 4.5k guesses at 67%, which is quite high, and game win rate at 85%. So obviously, dominant force, nothing really to say about how good Blinky's been all year. We move into Consis now. He's won 33 out of his 39 games, so 33-6, nothing to slouch at overall, and he has even more balanced stats than Blinky. 76% moving, 76% no move, and 75% NMPZ. His 4.5k guesses rate is very solid. I would say Consis, he just doesn't have a weakness. He's quite good at everything. He knows info. He just knows how to study every facet of the game. Area codes, kabupatans, Filipino provinces, random European area codes that you wouldn't expect to know. Yeah, he just knows a lot, man. He's an encyclopedia of knowledge, and Probably info-wise, he's definitely up there, I'd say. But also definitely one of the most balanced players at the tournament. And should be interesting. I would say Contis can always make a dark horse run. Obviously, the 2023 World Cup champion. So we'll see how that carries him into EMEA. He obviously has a first-round bye as well. All right, moving into Debre here. Debre with a very solid moving win rate. I think he's kind of, turned himself into a very, very solid moving player. He just has also very good knowledge of things, like he knows every county. I would say if you were to tell him, oh, we're in this county, because a lot of signs in the US will say, oh, we're entering, I don't know, Los Angeles County. Like, just as an example, like he'll just know random counties in the US, knows phone codes, knows a lot of info stuff as well. He's also an encyclopedia of knowledge. So 73% in moving, nothing to slouch at. His no move and NMPZ are also coming along. And I know he's been training with the best of the best in terms of getting his game up there. And I honestly think he is quite a balanced dark horse player moving into EMEA. Obviously, he's the 3rd seed. So can he really be a dark horse? We'll see. But I think he's a very solid player overall and very balanced in terms of his stats, as we can see here. Finbar, you guys all know Finbar, very good friend of the channel, very good friend of Diono. I'd say his moving win rate is, I guess, a little lower than I would have expected it to be for Finbar, because he is a pretty solid moving player. He doesn't have knowledge of everything. He has recently learned Kapupans, which is great, and I'm sure that'll help him a lot during the tournament, especially against people like Contis or Debre or Blinky, who's going to know all of that stuff regardless. And I think he recently started learning US area codes. He stopped, like, he memorized everything west of the Mississippi, I think. So I think he's working on that as well, moving into EMEA majors. But yeah, his no move win rate, no surprise, very, very high. He's a very solid no move player, and I would say it's probably his best mode. And stats wise really does reflect that. I think moving NMPZ. I think Finbar, of course, is susceptible to more flubs than I think the other top 3 are. I don't really see too many bad guesses from Consis the most. I think he's the most consistent. Debre or Blinky have their moments sometimes, but it is very, very, very rare. But I think Finbar does make a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but he does make some mistakes moving into the tournament. So I think, looking for him to minimize those mistakes are really important, because staying consistent through all 10 rounds is definitely something that you need, especially in the multis format that we're playing in. So yeah, obviously rooting for the best for Finbar, of course. And yeah, we'll move into our 5 through 12 seeds. Our 5 seed is Strefan, who is won 25 out of his 39 games. So 25 and 14 is a pretty solid record. All of his win rate obviously is going to be over 50% in moving, no move, and NMBZ. It looks like no move is his best mode. I didn't really know too much about Strefan coming into the World League, but from what I've seen, he can hold his own in all 3 modes. He's very solid at all of them, I'd say. He doesn't really have a weakness, and he ended on a 7-game win streak, and he was absolutely cooking towards the end. And yeah, I think he's just got better as the World League has gone on. We'll see how he adapts to playing at a LAN event, because he's never been on LAN before, I would assume. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Oh, I guess he did play in the Polish wildcard. But yeah, I guess, yeah, the Polish wildcard counts. But we'll see. Higher stakes this time, I'd say, because, if he performs well, he can get into the World Championship, so should be high for him. But yeah, he does seem a pretty solid player across all 3 modes, at least from what I've seen watching his games. All right, captain here, also a very solid player. I would say, yeah, he definitely lacks a little bit on NMPZ, but both in moving and no move, he is quite solid. So he's going to try to avoid NMPZ, of course, especially in a BO5 format, to try to just keep it in moving and no move and close out the game quickly. Not too much was known about captain, I'd say, for me as well, just because they weren't in the World League. They weren't in the World Championship last year, but he's shown himself to be a very, very solid player in terms of moving and no move, and even NMPZ as well. So we'll see. Captain, pretty balanced player as well. I think EMEA, obviously just going to have the strongest crop of players. And I would say the top 6 are pretty balanced in terms of their game strengths and weaknesses. All right, Harrier here, moving on to our 7th seed. Pretty balanced as well, I'd say. He is susceptible to making some mistakes, I think, and he does tunnel vision a good amount. If you guys watched his video against Finbar, he did kind of just make a couple of big mistakes that I hope he doesn't make on LAN. But I do feel like he does stress himself out a little bit too much. And I really hope that doesn't hurt him on LAN. I hope he comes in relaxed and is just able to play his game, because yeah, he can hold his own against anybody, and he is quite balanced in all 3 modes. So shout out Jeff. All right, we've got 5 players to go through still. Karatsu is up next. Karatsu, mainstay on the big stage, performed very well at the 2024 World Cup. And yeah, just, you know, a very solid player overall. I'm surprised that his NMPZ win rate is so high. I know prior to the 2024 World Cup, he wasn't that solid, but I guess he's been practicing it a lot. He's definitely a very solid moving player as well. And that's, I guess, kind of given being French. All French players are pretty good at moving, I'd say. But yeah, pretty balanced as well. Like, I would say most of the EMEA players really don't have a strength and weakness in terms of mode. I would say they're all quite balanced in terms of their gameplay, so we'll see how it goes. And Karatsu, he plays really well on LAN. And he's just like an easygoing guy. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in with less nerves and he just is able to play his best game and make the best guesses possible, and not let the nerves affect him. All right. Clement now, kind of an unknown as well. I guess to see how he'll perform on a LAN environment. His NMPZ win rate is surprisingly low. Whenever I've played him in NMPZ, he was quite solid, I'd say. So I'm a bit surprised to see that. I would definitely say he's definitely most of a no-move player overall. And he has a pretty good knowledge of the United States. So I would say most of the players without info in EMEA aren't as good in the US as him. I would say he's probably one of the best US players in the field. So he'll probably be looking for a good US round to make up some points. And I honestly think, like, yeah, once again, Clement pretty balanced. You can see the stats there. I'm surprised the NMPZ win rate is so low, but yeah, NMPZ is just kind of hard, isn't it? So yeah. All right, we'll move into Lenley here. Everybody knows Lenley, YouTuber, famous man. His NMPZ win rate is at 82.4%. I think he's always really been an NMPZ player, or like NMPZ strength wise. Yeah, I mean, you can see it just based off of the win rate there. I would say, though, he's no slouch in moving or no move, although his win rate is like 50% or sub 50% on both of those modes. I would say he is quite solid at both. So honestly, I know he's been grinding a lot while also posting up YouTube videos. So like, shouts out to Lenley. I mean, he's a grinder. He's a goat. Like, what else is there to say, really? And I expect Lenley, you know, maybe to be a dark horse at this tournament, because he also, mindset-wise, is very chill and relaxed. I feel like he doesn't get too stressed out at things. He's a very easygoing guy. So we'll see how that mentality helps him out moving into John Shopping. All right. We'll move on to Panos here. Who's our penultimate competitor here at the EMEA Major. And we have him sitting at a very low moving rate, I would say, which I guess does make sense. I wouldn't say he's very much so a moving player. His strengths are definitely in no move and NMBZ, which is reflected in the win rate here. I think you will see some insta-sending from Panos, especially on a little bit more rural rounds, just because I do think he wants to play that advantage, because he is quite good at no move and NMBZ. And if you're quite good at no move and NMBZ, if you get a rural round and you just pan around once and you make a guess, it's usually better than someone who is probably better than you at moving, because someone that's better than you at moving needs info, usually, to make a decently good guess, in some cases, at least. But yeah, that no move NMBZ win rate is quite solid. We'll see how he holds up in moving into the EMEA Major. All right, and then our last competitor here is going to be Mata mainstay, of course, on the tour, and yeah, he competed in the 2024 World Cup as well. His moving win rate is quite high, I would say. I think he did mention in his video with Finbar that he is mostly a moving player, or his moving is his best mode. So we'll see how he holds up in no move and NMPZ against players that I honestly think are probably stronger than him in both of those modes. I would say most of the players on the top 12 are probably a bit stronger than Mata at no move and NMPZ, but he's definitely stronger than a good handful of them at moving. So we'll see if he can take that momentum from maybe winning a couple moving games into no move and NMPZ, and we'll see how he fares there. All right, with that out of the way, we can see the final standings for the World League EMEA Major here. Top 4 seeds, 5 through 12. And let's hop into the bracket. So to start off, we have Kratzu and Clement, and the winner plays Blinky. Honestly, I haven't really thought about what my predictions would be. So I'm seeing this first time just like you are, and I'm really thinking it through as we go. I honestly think Kratzu has a bit more LAN experience. And, you know, he can hold his own against Clement in moving. I would say he's probably a better moving player as well. I could see Clement taking a game in moving or no move, but I honestly think Kratzu is just a better balanced overall player. And I think in terms of a best of 5 format, let me just check to make sure it's best of 5 for these. I mean, why wouldn't it be? But like, I'm just confirming before I make a big blunder here. I mean, all matches are best of 5. So like, I mean, why would it be? I just had to check. But I think Kratzu wins 3-1. He's definitely a better player in moving, and I think he can hold his own against Clement in no move. I would say Clement's probably a better no move player, but yeah, we'll see. And I'm going to lock in a Kratzu 3-1 here. I think Strefon versus Mata. I think Strefon brings a lot of momentum coming into this tournament, but Mata has a bit more LAN experience, which should be interesting. I do think Mata probably a better moving player, although Strefon is quite solid. So it is kind of tough to say. I do think Strefon just has the advantage in both no move and maybe even NMPZ, honestly. I could see this being a banger series, to be honest. I could see this being a banger series. I'm gonna do it as a 3-2, because I honestly think the series could go either way. I know Strefon is the 5th seed, but I honestly think like Mata has a pretty good chance here. You know what? I'm gonna go Mata 3-2. I'm gonna go Mata 3-2, LAN experience a little bit more. We'll see. All right, Harrier Lenley here. I don't know. Two of my friends, I guess. So it's hard for me to predict this one. Honestly, I think Lenley overall, Harrier is prone to a little bit of getting too stressed out and maybe like missing info. Honestly, think Lenley has been working on his game a lot. And I think if it does come down to NMPZ, I think I'm going to take Lenley in a 3-2 fashion here. But I honestly think it could go either way as well, much like this Strefon Mata one. All right, Captain versus Panos should be interesting, honestly. I think Captain probably just a more solid player overall, and as you saw, Panos's moving win rate isn't good, and I think Captain is someone who can capitalize on that. So I think we're going to take a Captain 3-1 here. I just think the moving win rate being so low, and the way I've watched Panos play moving a little bit, I think Captain like won't panic on insta-sends as well, because he's a pretty solid no move player overall, so he can probably get a good feel for regions based off of that too. So we'll be taking a Captain 3-1 here. So Dynamo picks some upsets here. We have Mata beating Strefon and Lenley beating Harrier. But let's move into day 2 here. We have Blinky versus Kratzu, a French on French battle. And I think I'm going to take Blinky here. No surprise, guys. I'm taking Blinky. Okay, like, are we surprised? And I think I'm even going to take Blinky 3-0. Honestly, think Blinky's been playing really well. He's been practicing a lot. Like, no disrespect to Kratzu, of course. I think, you know, he could take a game or two, but I can't in good conscience take him over Blinky, the 2024 world champion. All right, Finbar versus Mata. I think Finbar can hold his own against Mata in moving. We have seen moving as Mata's best mode, and I honestly think they're pretty evenly matched there, but I think Finbar definitely has the edge in no move and NMPZ. He's been practicing NMPZ. Yeah, I could see Mata taking a game, but I think I'm going to take Finbar 3-1 in this case. And hopefully he can settle his nerves with a win. Contis versus Lenley here should be a banger matchup. I honestly think that it could go either way here, but I think Contis just being the most consistent player overall in EMEA, I think it's hard for me to pick against him here, and I know I'm taking another favorite, guys, but it's happening. I think I'm taking Consis to win, and we'll take him 3-1. I was even considering a 3-0, but I think Consis, yeah, I think Lenley can take a game here, but we'll take a Consis 3-1. All right, Debre versus Captain. Should be quite interesting. I honestly think Debre is just an overall very solid player. I think the top 4 seeds are all quite solid, honestly. But yeah, I think Debre is going to win this one. But it might be a bit of a sweat. Honestly, it might be a bit of a sweat. I think Debre is a very good moving player, though, just like Captain. And I honestly think he can hold his own on no move as well. So I'm going to take Debre 3-1. So we got 3-0s and 3-1s. Nothing going to NMPZ here. We'll see how that fares. I feel like that's a little unlikely. We'll see what happens. All right, we got Blinky versus Finbar here. I think Blinky just a better overall player, and he just has some kind of mind control over Finbar a little bit. Like, you guys watched his video, Blinky versus Finbar, for the Road to EMEA Major on Finbar's channel. He just has, Blinky knows how to trash talk. he knows how to get into Finbar's head. I just think he's a little bit better at moving than Finbar is. And, you know, no move and NMPZ, they're quite evenly matched. I think Finbar could steal a game, but yeah, I'm going to take Blinky 3-1 here. And I think Consis versus Debre. All right, guys. I talked about how Consis is the most balanced player on the tour, but I honestly think Debre, he's just going in with that FU mindset, you know? I honestly think he can win. And I will be doing that in my prediction. And we'll take a little Debre 3-2. In NMPZ, he's going to get the win. All right, we'll do the third place match first. We got Finbar versus Consis. I honestly think Consis, overall, very solid player, as I previously mentioned many of times. And I'll take Consis in a 3-1 fashion over Finbar. I obviously have love for my boy, but I, like, against the top 3 seeds, against Consis and Blinky, he's kind of got an unfortunate draw there. That does happen. All right, and Blinky versus Debre to round it out. All right, guys, you guys might not like this prediction. You guys might not like this prediction, but we're going to take Debre 3-1. I think if he squeaks by Consis, he's going to have all the momentum in the world. I honestly think Debre can hold his own on moving against Blinky. And no move-wise, they're both quite good. And I'm going for a higher variance route here, and we're going to take Debre 3-1, guys. We're going to take Debre 3-1, and we're going to have Debre winning the EMEA Major as the 3 seed. Dino's not only picking favorites. I mean, we did pick favorites to go to the semifinals, but, you know, we had some upsets round 1. We had some upsets, especially in the finals here. So, you know, should be interesting however it plays out. I think it's going to be very exciting. I should be live on both Friday and Saturday for the matches, and I'll be co-streaming it with Young Eddie 4. So that should be a ton of fun, and I'm very excited. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, of course. And drop your predictions down below. I would love to hear them. Would love to interact with you guys and hear your predictions for the tournament. And yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, of course, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another GeoGuessr video. Peace.